What is up, Nerds Nation? Welcome to the Effin' Nerds podcast with the most dynamic duo in all of podcasting. I'm Nick Denizio, and sitting across from me is my dude, Martin Moreno.
What's up, man?
How we doing?
Good.
Today we are reviewing the trial of Chicago 7, but before we get started, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, please check back each week as we try to upload new content for you guys to listen to. The story of 7 people on trial stemming from various charges surrounding the uprising at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. The trial of the Chicago 7 is written and directed by Aaron Sorkin and stars Sacha Baron Cohen, Mark Rylance, Eddie Redmayne, Gordon-Levitt, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Jeremy Strong, John Carroll Lynch, Frank Langella, and so many more people.
Good actors.
The trial of Chicago 7 holds a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes with an audience score of 92%.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
All right, Martin, so we recently watched this. This dropped on Netflix. Let's just go right into it. Give me your positives, give me your negatives. Well, positives first.
Positives first.
Yeah. What'd you think? Because I actually don't know what you think.
Positives first, I thought, look, this is comes as no surprise. The dialogue is incredible.
Yep.
The writing is incredible. It's very heavy in terms of dialogue, so it's just very constant. So the pace of the film is almost carried with the dialogue because it just doesn't stop. You get pretty much hit in the face right off the bat with this like crazy opening montage scene.
That's fantastic.
And it's really good. And this dialogue is back and forth. You don't really get a break. It's kind of exhausting, but in a good way. It sort of, in a way, kind of lays the groundwork. You know, kind of like when you watch an episode and it's like previously on, and you get like the little behind, like a little reel of what's going on. It was kind of like that.
Right.
And it kind of got you up to date into the sort of like adventure that you were going to go into. So yeah, the dialogue's incredible. I thought the directing was good. I had some issues with the directing, which we will get into. But I thought some of the acting, not all, but I thought some of the acting was really good. I thought Mark Rylance was incredible.
Yep.
Incredible. I'm going to say it now. He's definitely going to get an Oscar nom. It's probably my favorite role from him that I personally seen. And yeah, so in terms of like the pacing is very fast, but I enjoyed it because it was driven by the dialogue. Again, the writing's incredible. Some of the acting was really good, and I just thought that, and I really enjoyed seeing some of these actors. Like, kind of, it's interesting because I pretty much said before how like, oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like, it's cool, like whatever, doesn't really faze me either or.
Yeah.
But I had the feeling in this movie that you have with Project Power, like of me being like,
oh, it's really nice to see this guy.
Yeah, like I actually missed this guy.
Yes.
And I thought he did a really great job in this movie. It's really funny because I feel like he has just like a very almost like standard cadence,
right?
And just the way he kind of delivers his lines and the way he sort of like the way he acts, almost very. It's kind of similar in all throughout his roles, but it's just that little percent different.
Yeah,
where he kind of is able to sort of go into kind of able to portray different characters.
Yeah, and like in this one, I think he embodies the character really well to the point where I start not seeing Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I start seeing Schultz.
Yeah, especially the moment where he's in the park with his daughters.
Yeah,
like I'm like, yeah, actually, you know what? I buy this guy's a dad, and he's a good dad and a caring father and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll kind of start off with that, and we'll kind of go back and forth from there.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of echo the similar sentiments to you. Very strong writing. I think I'm actually curious to hear who you don't think is in terms of like the acting, who's not as strong. Mm-hmm. But we will get into that. For the most part, I liked all the acting. There were a few that I had a little bit of issues with, depending on what scene it was. But like it was Mark Rylance, who, if we want to stay on Mark Rylance for a second, I think there's very few actors who make acting look effortless. Mm-hmm. And when I'm watching Mark Rylance in this role, I feel like he's just doing this and he's not even trying. That's just how fucking good he is. Because like every scene, like he just immediately just sinks into this role. And I buy every single scene that he's in, every emotion that he goes through. Every time he raises his voice, is talking, and he lowers his voice. Like it all works. Like it's all perfect. Like, yeah, like I can't say enough good things about this. It's one of my favorite performances of the year. I'm also with you. It might be my favorite performance from him so far, and he's great. I also thought Yahya was awesome as well. I thought he stuck out to me. Just the same thing. Like, the way he shows his frustrations throughout these courtroom proceedings.
His accent, I thought
his accent was
really
perfect.
Good.
Like
yeah,
I'm also like, this might be my favorite role from him as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought that's just how good he was. And then I also got to give props to Frank Langella because
oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
From the start, he's another one where it's
so good.
It's so effortless in how he plays this role because like first 5 minutes, I'm like, I fucking hate this guy.
Yeah,
like,
and you love Frank Langella.
Yeah, and I love Frank Langella.
Really
Yeah, but he plays these roles really fucking well.
He was. I agree with you on that one too. And just to kind of harness back to what both Yahya and Mark Rylance, like you were saying, it's kind of interesting because we recently just said on the Furiosa talk about how we feel when it comes to Chris Hemsworth and Yahya, how Yahya kind of made the better decisions in terms of like acting choices and stuff. Mm-hmm. Who knows whether he's like he has a better sort of eye or keen for it, or they have better agents. Who knows? I don't know. But I feel like he's just been making the right decisions all along, mm-hmm. and this was just another
another step for him. Yeah.
Right, more proof of that. Like it's not a major role,
right?
But you stand out.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're essentially in this sort of, for kind of all intents and purposes, kind of like an all-star cast, and you're really holding your own. Especially when you're kind of more of a recent actor, so to speak. Like he's kind of splashed on the scenes in recent years. So for him to step into this with, well, not just him, there were a few other ones too, but and with these, like you said, Frank Langella, Mark Rylance, Sacha Baron Cohen, these sort of like veteran actors, and really hold his own and really stand out.
Right.
Calvin Harris Jr., which you
didn't even realize that was him playing Frank Hampton. I was like, holy shit,
which you missed. And I like right away. I'm a big Calvin Harris Jr. fan. I saw him in Loose. I saw him in Waves.
Yep.
And I think the dude has a very bright future ahead of him. And
yeah, he's gonna break out.
He's definitely, and also another one who's kind of making good choices.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm sure he can probably get a big role if he wanted to.
Well, that's what I mean. Like he just did 2 movies that he crushed it in, where he was like the lead, basically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, completely different roles.
And completely different roles. Mm-hmm. And in this one, he's kind of like a small part, but even still, with that small part, he still sticks out.
Yeah, and that for me, like, I was like, hey, that's fucking Calvin Harris Jr.
Right.
And yeah, Mark Rylance is very interesting because I feel. Kind of like going back to the 10 things I hate about you discussion, I feel like Mark Rylance in a way has like a sort of sad puppy face.
He does.
He's like always kind of like sad or mopey or like
he has like that look where he's just
they really put it all out there in Ready Player One. He's like always sad and depressed and like alone and whatever.
I feel like he's doing a Dana Carvey impression who's doing Garth from Wayne's World in Ready Player One. Yeah.
Why can't we go backwards for once? Backwards, really fast as we can. Really put the pedal to the metal, you know? Bill and Ted did it.
He's just like this, and like I know, but here, even though it's like you said, it's there as well because you always I see it in all his roles, mm-hmm. and I saw it here too, but it felt natural, and it felt very genuine, and like you said, even moments where he gets a little intense or sort of loud, so to speak, it's still there, but it's not
over the top either.
Right, and I still buy that. It's just like good-hearted person mm-hmm. who is just like fed up.
Yes.
You know, and yeah, I think him, like, to me, was just like the clear standout. I think he knocked it out of the park.
I would agree. Jumping over now to the directing, it's a bit mixed for me, like it was for you. But since we're in positives, the things that I do want to say is I think, and this might be more going more towards the editing, but some of the sequences, how they bounce back and forth and how they incorporate the flashbacks, I thought was extremely well done.
Yeah, especially towards the second half of the movie.
Yeah, and when some of the riots actually happen, and when you have people reaccounting it, and then as they're speaking it, it's playing out. I thought the editing and the cross-cutting, and I thought all of it was just awesome. And that to me was like where the movie really like lights up.
Right, when we get to that sort of that first kind of like take the hill.
Yes.
When we get to that first sort of scene.
Right.
Because up to that scene, I wasn't sure. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, where are we going? But once we get to that first scene, from then on, I'm like, okay, I'm in, totally buy it. And that's, again, like you said, we kind of have mixed feelings on the directing. And this is just being put out on the table now, people. Nick and I did not talk about this so far.
No, we didn't.
For people who say that we have the same opinions, we don't. Sometimes we do, but not always. But in this situation, we do, how we both kind of feel how the directing is mixed. Yes, but at the same time, like you said, the fact that, because look, we have to be real here. A director is the only person who knows how all these million things are going to come together.
Right.
You know who said that? Patty Jenkins. Oh, fucking love her. but it's like you're the only person on set who know how a million different things are going to come together.
Right.
So the fact that he's here directing this and editing it and cutting it and, like you said, going back and forth, that's a big kudos to him. So, I mean, I believe this is only his second movie, right?
Only his second movie, yeah.
Did he direct television? Did he direct a couple episodes of West Wing?
I would assume that he has.
But just those sort of stylistic and directing choices were like, I take my hats off to him. Really well done.
Yeah, I would definitely agree on that. And I also just want to shout out Michael Keaton, who basically is here for an extended cameo, but just comes in and
give me all the Keaton.
And just same thing, man. Like those two scenes that he's in is a highlight for me as well.
And I forgot that he was in the movie.
Yes.
So when he comes on the screen, I'm like, oh yeah.
It's like, oh, he's in this movie too.
I totally forgot about
yeah.
Keaton. But
and then the other thing I noticed was John Carroll Lynch is in this, and I saw somebody say, oh, the Zodiac Killer is finally getting his trial.
I'm not the Zodiac. And if I was, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
He's, just an excellent character actor. Guy's been around for years. Anyone that's watched any movie, you've definitely seen him in something before. And it's
plays a lot of dad roles.
He does play a lot of dad roles, but it's nice to see him, just play in this ensemble and also just he does a good job.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I didn't really completely buy, though. I guess we'll get into it, but his whole kind of breaking point.
Oh yeah.
Of just us being fed of him being the good guy, and when he finally snaps, I didn't completely buy it.
You see, I bought it,
yeah.
But I bought it because of where he just is he gets slammed onto the table, and he's like, I hit him. And then he gets up, he's like, I'm sorry. Like, I totally bought that flip that he just, for that split second, just snapped. Because after days and days and days of getting hammered and having a judge that is clearly against you this entire time, and just being frustrated that you're going to end up going to jail, like, I totally bought that moment.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, okay.
For me, not so much. But I thought, like you said, I think he's a good character actor, and I just think he did a fine job.
Yes. Let's jump into our negatives now. And the thing that I want to start with is, since we were talking about the directing, I almost wish a better director did this movie, because there are, and what's funny too is that I watched again and watching again for the second time, majority of the movie completely works for me in terms of like the directing. Where I think it flops a little bit is the end, because I think this movie needed more of a punch at the end, and I don't think it gets there. And I wonder, in the hands of somebody like David Fincher, for instance,
right,
what he would have done with it. Because I think the movie really needs to, just go out with a bang.
It went a little, yeah, I agree with you. I'm sorry, do you want to keep going?
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, when we finally get to, like, I guess, the climax and Abby Hoffman is on the stand, starts off really well, and then there's a fade out. As it's about to start really get going, and then we cut however far ahead, and then we start reading the names from Vietnam, and then it just ends.
And I thought that fade out was really poorly done.
I thought so too. Like, I thought it was unnecessary. I thought and it left me like, I'm like, wait, I want to see it. I want to see what he has to say. Like,
yeah, and to me, it felt like a Disney movie ending.
Yes,
like they were trying to be like very lighthearted and heartwarming, and like and proud and happy.
While it is somewhat uplifting, it's also kind of cringy, because like I saw someone describe it as you're gonna roll your eyes, but as you're rolling your eyes, you might have tears in those eyes. You know what I mean? Like that's
a good way of putting it.
That's the perfect way to put it,
because
that's true, because it's very it's kind of cheesy, and it's like something out of like the 90s that you would see.
I kind of got some like. For some reason, I got like some like Disney sports movie.
Yeah,
like
where everyone's
vibe.
up cheering, and
it's like, oh,
Frank Langella's just banging his thing in the back.
He got the game-winning, field goal or whatever, 3-point or whatever. It just felt like a cheesy Disney movie sports ending to me.
Yeah, I think for me it holds the movie back from being like great.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think it could have gotten there, but the ending kind of falls flat a little bit.
Right. To me, I agree with that. Also had some issues in the beginning. The first half of the film, to me, felt very caricature. How do I put this? Because obviously it's a movie, but obviously, like you know, when you're watching a good movie and you buy into what's going on, you buy into certain situations, you buy into the characters. It took me a while to buy into them, and for a long time, I felt like I was watching. Like I wasn't completely into it, and it felt very much like staged.
Yes.
And some of the, especially when they're very early on, when they're in that sort of conference room.
Oh, yeah.
And then one person comes in, and then you have this back and forth dialogue.
It almost felt like a play.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. I was gonna say like a soap opera,
Right.
But I think a play is better.
It definitely feels, especially
Yes.
like when Kelvin Harris comes in.
Yes.
As soon as he walks in, I'm like, this feels like I'm watching a play.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, because I wanted to say it felt like a soap opera, but
Right.
like it wasn't really there. But yeah, I definitely felt like I was watching a play, and it felt very staged, and I didn't buy into some of the accents and some of the characters
Well, if you want to jump into the characters now.
of who I didn't complete. Okay,
Yeah.
Sacha Baron Cohen was very hit or miss for me. There were certain moments where where he was too New Yorky, and maybe that's just us because we're from may or may not be
Well,
from the area.
I was going to say, like, other than his accent, I thought he was perfect.
Yeah,
But, like, his accent is wishy-washy here and there.
yeah, and it feels like a fake accent.
Yes.
It feels like someone trying to do
Right.
a New York accent. I'm very torn on Jeremy Strong. I still don't know how I feel about him as an actor.
See, because I really like Jeremy. Like, I like Jeremy. Like, I know he's in Molly's Game,
He is.
right? And then I
Maybe it's that because he threw bagels.
right.
So I haven't forgiven him.
So you fucking hate him for
I
that.
haven't forgiven him for it. Yeah.
But I really like him in The Big Short. I really like him in Succession, which I've only seen a couple episodes of, but I think he's great in that. Here, it's weird because the accent that he's doing, I've definitely heard in real life before. I know people that sound like that.
Yeah, it's a hippie.
I've met people that sound like that, but it's still funny to hear, regardless. And and at some points, it takes me a little bit out of the movie when he speaks on certain things. And also, some of his comedy just falls flat because I also don't think it's written very well. Like the whole thing with
it's not really. I think him and Sacha Baron Cohen's character
Yeah.
are the ones who. What's the antonym for benefit?
the antonym for benefit.
Yeah, I don't know. But like when you say like he benefits really well from the directing,
Yes.
I feel like those two do not. I
Oh,
feel like they're
gotcha.
the ones who
Who maybe need a stronger director.
yeah, who
Okay.
maybe to say like, hey, maybe tone it down, hey, maybe deliver it this way, like, hey, just like kind of help and give some sort of guidance into better embody the character.
Right.
Because I didn't really buy him as this sort of like hippie activist, and like you said, to me some of the moments in regards to his comedy just didn't work.
Well, like the whole thing with the I forget her name, but the lady agent, the undercover agent, and when Joseph Gordon-Levitt's walking away after he meets him in the park, he's like, "Hey, did she ask about me, man?" And
Yeah.
it's like I didn't like to me
See,
that's
okay,
like
line,
a cliche thing
and
though.
I'm glad you brought it up because up to that point, I was like, okay, like I was getting a kick of him, like, yeah, we were in love, like it could have happened. It was 96 hours, but then he says that line, and
Yes.
you're like, okay,
You're
fuck.
like because I've heard that before. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
and you just don't buy it.
I don't buy that. Yeah.
Then to me, it just feels like someone. It feels like a fraud.
Yes.
Like you're some dude in this sort of like hippie conspiracy group, and I just don't I don't buy you.
Well, that's the
as
thing
it.
is I don't blame him for that though. I blame the writing for that. I don't think that's a good line. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I think with a better director and maybe some better writing,
yeah.
he probably could have done a better job. But unfortunately, that's just his role,
Right.
And that's just how it comes off.
Yeah.
So it's like, but again, like I don't mind the dude. I don't, but again, like you said, in The Gentleman, I feel like he has a sort of
Oh,
almost
that's right.
like,
I forgot he was in The Gentleman. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's a very different character.
yeah, The Gentleman, all the movies you mentioned. I feel like he has almost like a sort of like stiff, quirky Pee Wee Herman kind of manner to him, just in general. And I feel
Right.
like that sort of quirky Pee Wee Herman type of stiff manner comes across in all his roles.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just kind of turning me off because he's like if we watch The Gentleman again,
Yeah.
I'm gonna point it out and be like
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
like the Cavil jar, whatever. I'm like
Yes,
that.
yes.
Like that kind of bleeds through a lot, and a lot of times it kind of just takes me out of it because it kind of you're always like suspending disbelief because you're watching a movie, but again, like it makes it a little difficult to buy into the character and buy into the movie as a whole.
Right.
So for me personally, like his character didn't really work. Same thing with Sacha Baron Cohen. Everyone else, for the most part, I enjoyed.
Yeah, I would say everyone else is really good in this movie, including Eddie Redmayne, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but I really liked him here. I thought his accent was good for the most part. Like I thought he did a really good job with holding that accent and it not really breaking throughout the movie.
I think this may be unfortunate to say, but I think he just has he's very British.
He's very British.
And I think that's what kind of
even in his
he's
look.
got the mug.
Yeah.
He's got that British
Yes.
mug where you literally don't see the lips.
Yeah.
When they're tucked in. And that's just like, unfortunately, That's just how.
It's just how he is.
Yeah,
you know what I
that's
mean?
how he is. Like
Yeah.
it's your face. You can't change your face.
I don't like that face. You need to change it. Change it quick. Is this face better? Oh, I don't like. Oh, that new face is driving me crazy. Change it.
'Cause I'm with you too. I feel like that's what sort of sometimes brings down because Cowboy has that issue too, in my personal opinion, where it's just like that British mug, and it's
Right.
almost it's hard to differentiate yourself from like different characters
Right.
that you're playing. But yeah, I thought he did a good job too, and I will say that he's probably one of the better actors
I would agree
in
this movie.
in this movie,
Yeah.
right? In terms of like when you're going through your list of actors, even though he hasn't been around as long as some of the other people in this film, I would say that if you were sort of ranking your cast in terms of like your acting abilities, he would probably be like up towards the top.
Yeah, I would agree with that too, because there's moments towards the end of the film where he kind of goes one-on-one with Sacha Baron Cohen, and then he goes one-on-one with Mark Rylance, which that might be my favorite scene, I think, in the movie, is when they find the tape of him supposedly starting the Chicago riots. And Mark Rylance is like, all right, I'm going to play this tape and I'm going to go at you like Schultz is going to go at you tomorrow if you go on the stand. And then you get this just fantastic cross-cutting. And then it also cuts in a little bit of Sacha Baron Cohen's like stand-up where he's talking to like that college audience that he does kind of
Right.
throughout the film, and how all that is pieced together. I just think it's just a really wonderful like sequence.
I do have a big issue with that scene though.
You really?
Because the part where the guy gets beat over the head and
Yeah.
how that causes everything.
Right.
Like that to me just felt very awkward because he gets hit. I get that. But the fact that he's like, then we cut to him and he's like, oh, he just beat him. He just hurt him. And like,
So you think it goes from 1 to 100 way too quick?
yes.
Okay.
And not just that, but it's almost like, I think maybe we should have, and this is me personally, I think there should have been just a few minutes there where just to give you some more meat of him reacting to the guy, or maybe even seeing him.
Right.
Because he's pretty far away to begin with. And we kind of, it happens, and then we kind of cut to them, and we cut to them reacting, but we don't really cut to them really kind of seeing it and taking it in.
Yeah.
So that sort of like pocket that's not there, again, Patty Jenkins, pocket of emotion. That little pocket of emotion that you kind of do not get from that situation in regards to these two characters, because like that's your best friend supposedly.
Right.
So I wanted to maybe just get more of like him seeing it, him kind of reacting to it, because then I would have bought more into what he then goes and does.
Right.
You know, so that's the one part that I kind of like had an issue with, because it was just like I said, 0 to 100. I didn't really get that sort of reaction, and but then how everything else plays out after that, I thought was really good.
Yeah, I would agree too. All right, so that's kind of our positives and our negatives. How would you actually, before we score it, I want to ask you something. For this movie, since it's probably going to be poised to be somewhat of an Oscar contender, what should it get in terms of nominations? What do you think? It should be nominated for?
Would Mark Rylance be a lead actor?
I guess it depends on what Netflix wants to push him as, but I think that's up to you. Do you think he should be nominated as a lead, or do you think he should be nominated as supporting?
I think he should be nominated as a lead.
Okay.
I think, well, if I was in charge of Netflix, I would push him over Sacha. I would push him as a lead.
Yeah, I would too.
I thought he was a clear standout in this movie. Best Picture.
I think it's going to get it just because
There's not that much competition either.
Yeah, and also I think just because of its subject material, I think a lot of people are going to go for it. And
Right.
and because it's also a courtroom drama, we don't usually get courtroom dramas. Those are kind of like, back in the day used to be like that used to be the thing. So I feel like a lot of the older voters are going to go for that.
True.
I think it will get screenplay.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely screenplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like the lock-ins would be like best actor, best screenplay. Is this an adapted? Is this based off of a book?
I don't think so. Like obviously it's based on a true story, but I don't know if it's adapted from a book or not. I'm not sure.
Well, regardless, whether it's best original or best adapted, I think it's gonna get a nom.
Yeah. And then in terms of like tech awards, maybe you'll get costume design,
maybe editing,
maybe
maybe sound mixing.
Right.
I can picture a lot of like you said, tech awards. I can definitely picture it falling into those categories. But something else of what you said of. I think of kind of like we went into this a little bit with the Five Bloods. This film was very reminiscent of the shit's going on now.
Yes.
And while like we were saying, movies are magic, and you kind of want to jump into this film and you sort of want to escape. It's a form of escapism, so to speak. And it is a little hard to do that when because you just can't help but to think like, oh, this kind of like,
Yeah,
it's very reflective of what's going on.
It definitely mirrors a lot what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a little unfortunate, but at the same time, and this also applies to The Five Bloods as well, even though these two movies kind of came out and it is very reflective of what's going on with the times. And look, everyone has their own opinions on shit, and that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
You have every right to do that. But for me personally, I do, even though it is unfortunate that you can't fully escape into this film because you're essentially living some of this shit or somewhat living some of the shit that's going on.
Right.
It does keep the conversations going.
Yes.
And a lot of those conversations that are going, to me personally, I think should keep going.
Right.
And if you think otherwise, that's fine. Like I said, it's your opinion. You're totally entitled to it. But that's also, to me, something that I guess on a personal level, I kind of because when the Five Bloods came out, that was like very early on, and it was a lot heavier. So that I think in a way did affect me a little bit, not in a bad way, but just it's almost like it really hurts the escapism.
Yes,
because you want to go into this movie and watch it and escape, but you almost kind of completely can't because you're like, fuck, like we're living this,
Right.
Here, not so much, but like I said, it does help keep certain conversations going, and it kind of keeps a sort of spotlight on those conversations.
Right.
So that's something to me also that I personally kind of just kind of thinking about it afterwards kind of enjoyed.
Yeah. I would definitely echo a lot of your sentiments in saying that. I think there are maybe a few times where it's a little too heavy-handed, maybe a little too in your face, when I wish it was a little bit more subtle on certain things, just to kind of be maybe a little bit more clever instead of just kind of like hitting you in the face with like, yeah, this definitely reflects the times today. And Aaron Sorkin's definitely trying to tell you something when you're watching some of these scenes. But for the most part, even though it does reflect, it's very reminiscent of what's going on today, I still was able to fall into this movie and just kind of set myself with these people in this time for this event that they're on trial for.
Right.
Without so much so as thinking about, our political climate that we're dealing with in 2020.
Right. And that's just something, like I said, after kind of thinking about it, that's kind of where those sort of thoughts came into mind.
Right. All right, Martin. So let's score it.
Okay. I've been thinking how to score this because, like I said, I just didn't buy into some of the characters. I had some issues with the first sort of act, I guess. I'm going to say 8.3. 8.3.
Okay.
Right.
So
a little better directing.
Yeah.
I think could have gone, like you said, I think if a different, and look, no disrespect to Sorkin. You did a great job.
Yeah.
You did it. But I think if someone else kind of came in and did this movie, probably could have been better.
Right. I'm kind of going rookie score a flat 8.
I was thinking of doing that too.
Yeah,
I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, because I was gonna go flat 8 because like I said, I think majority of the movie really does work. A lot of the acting's fantastic, except for a few things here and there. Same thing with the writing. The directing can be a little hit or miss. And then I really wish it just had if it had a better ending, this might have been one of my, top movies of the year.
Same.
But I think not having that strong ending, and I think just how it kind of goes about it, like, I honestly don't know if that actually happened. I probably should have fact checked it. If, Eddie Redmayne's character, it's Tom Hayden. If Tom Hayden actually stood up and read the names, I would assume that it did, because even though the movie does take liberties here and there, because it is a movie, like, you're not watching a documentary, so it's not going to be completely truthful. But I would think that something like that actually did happen. I would hope it did, and that it wasn't just made up for the movie. But regardless, it still kind of came off as a little cheesy, even though it is somewhat compelling. But I think if it just had a much stronger ending, I would have just, I would have been head over heels for this movie.
True. Agreed. And also me too. Like I said, I was also thinking of that just rookie flat 8, but me, I love dialogue.
Yes.
And just so that to me, the dialogue kind of just helped push it a little bit more forward.
Well, that was the one thing that I meant to say that I completely forgot to, is that for a movie that's all I think the only other person that can move pacing and have really good pacing, where literally the movie is completely comprised of dialogue, is Quentin Tarantino. I think Sorkin and Tarantino are like one of the few people around.
Oh, you mean like writer-directors?
That can actually write a script, and the movie can just be propelled forward by the dialogue, and like the pacing is done by the dialogue. You know what I mean? Like, the dialogue dictates the movie pretty much. And I think for the most part, it's Sorkin's writing and Tarantino's writing where they just write this fantastic dialogue that just completely just locks you in.
So yeah, in terms of so you were talking more from like a writer's perspective.
Yes, writer's perspective.
Gotcha.
Yes. All right, that does it for us, Nerds Nation. Have you guys checked out Trial of Chicago 7 yet? Did you guys like it? Did you not like it? Hit us up and let us know what you thought. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube page. And remember, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else where you can see that big, beautiful FN logo.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say to the people, Martin?
Nope. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and come back for more.
Definitely. All right, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.